everybody, and welcome back to Reflecting Shakespeare TV. My name is Erika, and I'm a manager and facilitator for the Old Globe's Reflecting Shakespeare program that we've been bringing to people experiencing incarceration for a few years now. This program is designed to go inside while we cannot. So let's get this started and bring on my co-hosts, James and Nikki. Hey, you guys.
Here we are, back at it. Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki. I served 25 years of incarceration, and after coming home about 2 years ago now, yay, I was beyond blessed with an amazing opportunity to work with the Old Globe and Reflecting Shakespeare a few months after I was released, and they have been stuck with me ever since.
All right. Thank you, Nikki. Thanks, Erika. Hey, hello, everyone. My name is James. I'm a facilitator at the Old Globe on the Reflecting Shakespeare program. And now, let us welcome our guest for this week. Let us all say hello to Robbie. Robbie, welcome.
Yay.
Hi.
Hey, Robbie, what's up? Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we kick into this program, just let us know a little bit about yourself, please, man.
Hi, I'm Robbie. I'm from New York. I work at Penn America. I'm formerly incarcerated. Also love the theater. I can't wait to get into this.
Woo! All right.
So, let me just check. Yeah, it looks like we are all here, including all of those who are watching. Hey, those of you who are watching, we're going to ask you, if you can, to journal along with us. So this might be a time to get something to write with if you can.
All right, you guys ready? So here we are, and here we go. Let's roll.
All right, check-ins for the week. What are your challenges and triumphs? Folks watching us, this is where we'll always start. Take stock with us. All right, guys, let's take it away.
All right, I'll go. So my low is I have really been missing people in my life. My girls on the inside, people out here that I don't see enough, just been missing them. My high for the week is that we just got a new space for my other organization that I work for, and it's been exciting getting all of that ready. So the new beginnings is super exciting for our folks that are coming home.
Really cool, Nikki. My low is I think I allowed myself to grieve a little bit this week for and it's a low, but it's also kind of a high because I was like, okay, I'm letting myself feel, which is weird. And I guess part of the high is that I've been feeling better about work. So I got a bunch of things that were pending done, and that's definitely a weight off my shoulders. James, what about you?
My low is similar to Nikki's. This week I've been in contact with a lot of people via Zoom in faraway places. My family is spread out in different places all around this planet. And so having that dual pull of seeing them, being happy about that, but also being like, oh man, I want to be in the same room as some of those people, right? My high for today is I just got an email with a bunch of rhyming couplets that a bunch of students who are working in one of our other programs just did earlier this week, and we just received them today, and they're going to share them with us on a Zoom later today. So that's my high. That's where I'm at. All right, Erika, what about you?
Well, my low is that we don't have permission yet to share those rhymes from those students, because otherwise we would be recording them for y'all today because they were so good.
Yeah.
I guess my real low is we had a couple last minute changes for today. And so yesterday I was kind of freaking out to make sure that we could record this program today. And the high is that Robbie came along and had space open. And so we're working with him a week earlier than expected. I'm so thrilled to share Robbie's beautiful energy and knowledge with everyone today. So that is my high. And for all of you out there, did you take stock? What are your highs and lows for today? We invite you to warm up with that writing prompt because we're going to be doing some writing later on.
All right, so let's get into working together. We're going to warm up and get ready to work. And today's warm-up is called My Pose Is. So take a second to consider how you feel at this moment. And then imagine a shape with your body you could make, maybe an expression on your face that would communicate that feeling to the world, that emotion. Then we'll show it, and then we're going to invite everyone who is watching to then play it back to us. I'll kick it off, and then we'll play from there. All right, here we go. My name is James, and my pose is... My name is James,
and
my pose is...
Let me think. My name is Robbie, and my pose is...
My name is Robbie, and my pose is...
My name is Erika, and my pose is...
My name is Erika, and my pose is...
My name is Nikki, and my pose is...
My name is Nikki, and my pose is... And now it's the turn of anyone who's tuning in and watching us. Go for it. Yes, wonderful. Thanks everyone for playing along with us. Hey Robbie, could you just give us a little moment about what it is to participate in warm-ups and how those things have worked out for you?
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Tone it down, Robbie. I love warm-up games. There is nothing like entering a space, instantly becoming vulnerable, practicing being as big as you can and as small as you can, and just stretching those muscles of expression and like finding that you can feel and experience all these things in such a rapid time. How elastic it is to go from happy to sad to active to still, and to do that with other people and be seen and heard. It is honestly, I used to do theater just for the theater games. Don't tell anybody. I like love the warm-ups. Okay, sorry, crazy.
Hey, so Robbie, just to piggyback on that, did you need to transition into loving warm-up games, or were you in programs where you were like the only one into the warm-up game?
I am the oddball, and like I want everybody around me to be like as enthusiastic as I am, and so I kind of make a jerk out of myself with my participation level. So I'm that guy.
Right.
And there's often others of those guys, you know, and then it I think it like raises everybody's level. If everybody's that guy or woman or person, then we all rise up. But there are times where I felt uncomfortable participating, and you look around for cues for how other people are doing it and kind of like figure out how you get in. But you learn quickly, just give it all. Why not? You know, why not?
Well, now that we've warmed up our sense of play, let's get into our work. For this series of Reflecting Shakespeare TV, we're looking at Shakespeare's beloved comedy, Much Ado About Nothing. And as always, our goal is to have fun with the story, but then really dig into how what's going on with the characters relates to us right here, right now. So guys, help me set up the story.
Oh, let me start. I'm ready for it. So Beatrice and Benedick have been smashing each other and taking jabs at one another ever since Benedick and the other soldiers returned from battle and grabbed a little R&R at Leonato's estate. And while others are just, so happy, falling in love and planning to get married, both Beatrice and Benedick are making sure that they blast it out to everybody that they plan to stay single forever, for life.
Yeah, but they're not fooling anyone. And Don Pedro, aka the Prince, has had enough. He's putting a plan into action to get Beatrice and Benedick over themselves and into each other.
And Don Pedro, he's willing to fib a little bit if it's going to get him results. In this scene, Don Pedro and Claudio intentionally have a conversation full of falsehoods right near where Benedick is hiding. They know Benedick will not be able to help himself but to listen in.
All right, so let's see who's going to play which part. Erika, if you don't mind, we'll have you play Benedick. Get a plant handy. And I will go ahead and play Don Pedro. James, since you're rocking that white beard and you're coming with some truth and you're the gospel, you can play Leonardo. And Robbie, if you don't mind, we'll have you playing Claudio. How you feeling? Awesome.
All right, so places, everyone. I do wonder that one man, seeing how much another man is a fool when he dedicates his behaviors to love, will, after he hath laughed at such shallow follies in others, become the argument of his own scorn by falling in love. Such a man is Claudio. He was one to speak plain and to the purpose, like an honest man and a soldier. Now his words are a very fantastical bouquet to so many strange dishes. May I be so converted and see with these eyes? Cannot tell. Think not. One woman is fair. I'm well. Another is wise. Yet I'm well. Another virtuous, yet I am well. But till all graces be in one woman shall not be in my grace. Rich shall she be, that's certain. Wise, or I'll none. Virtuous, or I'll never cheapen her. Fair, or I'll never look on her. Mild, or not come near me. Noble, or not I for an angel. Good discourse. An excellent musician, and her hair shall be of whatever color pleases God. Ah! The Prince and Monsieur Love, I'll hide me behind an arbor.
Come hither, Leonardo. What was it you told me today? Your niece Beatrice was in love with Signor Benedick?
Oh, I did never think that lady would have loved any man.
No, nor I neither, but the most wonderful that she dote on Signor Benedick, whom she hath in all outward behaviours seemed ever to abhor.
Is it possible? Sits the wind in that corner?
By my troth, my lord, I cannot tell what to think of it, but that she loves him with an enraged affection, it is past the infinite of thought.
Maybe she doth by counterfeit.
Faith, like enough.
Oh God, counterfeit. There was never counterfeit of passion came so near the life of passion as she discovers it.
Why, what effects of passion shows she?
Bait the hook well. This fish will bite.
What effects, my lord? She will sit you. You heard my daughter tell you how.
She did indeed.
How, pray you? You amaze me. I would have thought her spirit had been invincible against all assaults of affection.
I would have sworn it, my lord, especially against Benedick.
I should think this is a gull, but that the white-bearded fellow speaks it. Knavery cannot sure hide himself in such reverence.
You have taken the infection. Hold it up.
Has she made her affection known to Benedick?
No, and she swears she never will. That's her torment.
'Tis true indeed. So your daughter says. Shall I, says she, that have so often countered him with scorn, write to him that I love him?
This says she now when she is beginning to write up to him, for she'll be up 20 times a night, and she will sit in her smock till she have writ a sheet of paper. My daughter tells us all.
It were good that Benedick knew of it by some other, if she will not discover it.
To what end? You would but make a sport of it and torment the poor lady worse.
And he should. It were an alms to hang him. She's an excellent, sweet lady. And out of all suspicion, she is virtuous.
And she is exceeding wise.
In everything but in loving Benedick.
Hero thinks surely she will die, for she says she will die, if he love her not. And she will die ere she make her love known, and she will die if she woo her, rather than she will bate one breath of her accustomed crossness.
Shall we go seek Benedick and tell him of her love?
Never tell him, my lord. Let her wear it out with good counsel.
Nay, that's impossible. She may wear her heart out first.
Well, let it cool the while. I love Benedick well, and I could wish he would modestly examine himself to see how much he is unworthy so good a lady.
My lord, will you walk? Dinner is ready.
This can be no trick. Love me. Why, it must be requited. I hear how I'm censured. They say I will bear myself proudly if I perceive the love come from her. They say, too, that she would rather die than give any sign of affection. I did never think to marry. I must not seem proud. Happy are they that hear their detractions and can put them to mending. They say the lady is fair. 'Tis a truth. I can bear them witness. And virtuous. 'Tis so. I cannot reprove it. And wise, but for loving me. On my troth, it is no addition to her wit, nor no great argument of her folly, for I will be horribly in love with her. I may chance have some odd quirks and remnants of wit broken on me because I've railed so long against marriage, but doth not the appetite alter? A man loves the meat in his youth that he cannot endure in his age. No, the world must be peopled. When I said I would die a bachelor, I did not think I should live till I were married. If I do not love her, I am a brute. Yay! We did it! Great job. All right, that was such a great read, and what a fun scene. So let's just stop to unpack what actually happened to make sure that we're all on the same page about what went down.
Got it. All right, so Benedick announces he will never marry, and no one will be right for him.
Well, and the guys, they intentionally plant a seed that Beatrice is in love with him. So
Yeah, and they also say that Benedick shouldn't know because he'll only make fun of Beatrice for it.
And at the end, Benedick totally changes his tune and he says he will love her, and he justifies it by saying, appetites change over time, and hey, the world's got to be peopled. I've got to contribute to that. Okay, so that's basically just what went down. Plus he was hiding behind the greens there, so he thought he was not being seen. So Robbie, like, what's coming up for you hearing this scene? What are you thinking about?
I don't know. It's deeply personal, so I hope we can go there. But like, I got married 2 years after I got out of prison, and I remember coming out and being like, love, what's love? Why would anyone get married? And then like, I realized that I wouldn't want to let this thing go. And I remember a similar transition take place for me. It was really strange. And interestingly, like in this scene, it was the community around the coupling that I didn't realize I always thought of a relationship as just two people, but it's really this whole circles of people who are supporting you and wishing you on. And I can see that in this scene.
Nikki, what are you thinking about?
Well, I'm just thinking of how he's overhearing all of this, and what they're doing as I want to say mass manipulators, but really in all actuality, it's all about intention, right? And so you think about their intention. I think about their intentions and their motives in this. And then I think of how they're just throwing seeds out there, and he's just letting them fall right into his ear, working them and convincing himself, altering his thinking, just like you said, like change. With age, your taste buds change, like things change. It's allowed, it's permitted, and I think of like they're planting this seed and they're completely altering in an instant his belief about what he believed was good for him, was his truth, his standpoint, and there's no taking that back. And just with one conversation that's intended for him to hear, how that just completely alters his perspective, his life, his direction, his purpose now. Like, because that's going to alter his purpose. His purpose was before, I'm this man and I need no love and blah blah blah. And now his purpose is like, could I have love? I could have love. She looks good. She'll do. Sounds about right. This checks out. Yeah, I think I'll do that. And then from that point on, everything else is just gonna change.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that whole sense of what we might want to hear, what we might need to hear. I was thinking then, tagging on to what Robbie and Nikki were talking about a little bit, like that almost like beautiful conflict we have within ourselves. Like sometimes like that almost like a kind of like beautiful hypocrisy that he's like one way, right? And then he hears this other thing and he's like, oh, yeah, no, that seems reasonable. Almost like he discovers this other side of himself or opens the door to that other side of himself, which has been there the whole time. It just wasn't the moment for it. There's something very beautiful about this setup that I really enjoy, of them making this thing almost happen for him.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's so playful. What brings it for me is like the human reality that when you find out that someone's interested in you, you give them a second thought. Like, how many times did that happen in like middle school? It's like, so and so likes you, and you're like, oh really? And you're like, I wasn't giving them a second look before. And like, what is that? What is that? Because I think it connects to like the huge vulnerability people are in when they're experiencing love, and to open up and admit it. And so to know that there's kind of a safe harbor can actually make you think, oh, maybe I should put my love here. I mean, with Beatrice and Benedick, I think there's the backstory. And of course, because we know that there is a backstory with them, that the thought that, oh, I won't be hurt if I go forward in this direction, the way I was hurt before, opens it all up. So there's something about that. And then the other thing is something that, Nikki, I think you brought up maybe on the first episode of this series, which has to do with how we change when it's time to change. And like, there's something about you can't change until you want to. So what has Don Pedro set up here? He set up a situation where it's not where he goes up to Benedick and says, I really think you should reconsider Beatrice. He sets up a situation where he knows that out of it, Benedick is going to want to.
I love that. I love that so much. I do. I think you can also manipulate yourself to be available for change as well. So like, I often think about it as like throwing obstacles in your own path. So like, oh yes, I'll sign up for that course. Like you do it not having changed yet, but you're setting yourself up for the opportunity to change. You're your own Don Pedro. Or just by listening to other people and they're like doing cool things and you're like, oh yeah, how do you do that? And you're setting yourself up for being in a position to have a radical transformation. It's kind of cool.
I think the thing that stands out to me, Eric, as you just got done speaking, was the sense of security. Because what is, a lot of people say, what's your biggest fear? And the number one fear, I guess, across surveys is public speaking, right? But ultimately, really, in all actuality, what's the internal fear is the fear of rejection, right? To get up there and to feel rejected and to feel not heard and not welcomed and not validated and undervalued and all of those different things that come with that, right? And I think that's so key in, like how you said, when's that time that you found out somebody was even remotely interested in you? And so it alleviates that sense of rejection off the top because there's an interest there, right? And so that allows us the confidence that we need and the security to pursue something. And I think that goes a lot of times in our lives where that fear of maybe rejection comes into play. And as a result of that, we create all of these other defense mechanisms like, I don't need that. Like, who wants that? But when we start chipping away at that level of fear of rejection, ultimately how that just transforms in different ways in our lives and allows us to take the next step.
Also, what's coming up for me is the three other characters who are setting Benedick up. It's coming from like a place of care for him, right? They like him ultimately. They want him to be to have a happiness, a security, and they see this opportunity that maybe he's missing. So I think there's just like this beautiful sense of taking care of him in this setup for him.
Yeah. And the one thing I want to say too is how amazing it is when somebody else is able to identify your value.
Right.
And even though, you have to conjure up something, but when somebody sees that you're worthy and deserving of love, of something that could just enhance the quality of your life, and want to bring that to you in methods and in forms that ultimately are not going to harm you. It's just amazing to have, like Robbie said earlier, it took a community to make that happen and to nurture that and cultivate that, right? And so when there's people around you that believe that you deserve more than what it is that you have in your life, and they want to bless you with a gift that's something great that's going to fuel you, that's just beautiful. I don't believe in manipulation, but I do believe in helping others understand their worth and what they deserve and what they especially when people undervalue themselves. And as a community, we're able to see that so often.
All right. I think we had really thorough discussion, and because the next scene is going to touch on some similar themes from a different angle, I think it's time to take a breath and warm up our writing a little bit more with a quick write.
Okay, everyone, here we go. We're going to get started on the quick write. All right. I want you to clear your mind. I want you to think about someone who you helped spark a positive change in, where you were the catalyst, where you were the Don Pedro of this scenario. And fill in the blanks with this statement. It's like Mad Libs. Awesome. Okay. So-and-so, you'll fill that in, didn't think they could benefit from a change with some issue or problem, but I took it upon myself to do this. And the positive change that happened was this, and you'll describe that change there. Awesome. Or you can look at a moment where someone was a Don Pedro to you. So I didn't think I needed to change this horrible thing that I was blind to, but so-and-so, and you'll fill that in, took it upon themselves to help me by doing this amazing, tricky, manipulative, but also awesome thing. And the positive change that happened in me was blank. I can't wait to see what you write for that one, because I know I've got lots of good ones. And here's really kind of the coolest part. We're going to write the following prompt here. I justify the change by explaining that. How do you justify changing radically? And I've known people who do a lot of radical change. So I encourage you to figure that out, what you do there. I'm wondering if any of our fellow personages on the screen have an example of their response to this writing prompt.
Yeah, I'm going to throw one in. So my oldest friend didn't think they could benefit from really embracing their art form. So I took it upon myself to kind of chip away at them and really encourage them over a crazy long time. Years and years of like, And the positive change is that now he's become this amazing photographer who now is able to sell his material when he wants to. And now that has become like his beautiful second career that he does that.
That's amazing, James. Oh my goodness. I love encouragement from friends. It's awesome. Erika, I'm so excited to hear yours.
Okay, here we go. So I didn't think I needed to change the way I communicate, but my partner took it upon themselves to help me by pointing out that fast urban East Coast dialogue wasn't necessarily appreciated here in Southern California for the fun truth that I thought it was. And the positive change that happened in me was I became more aware of how I communicated, and little by little, I softened it up. So I justify the change by explaining that I haven't like left the neighborhood and forgotten who I am. I justify the change by explaining that my actual intention is received better now. And so it's its own kind of truth.
Erika, that is so real. I know Niki is thinking about coming out of prison and like going on that job interview and not being all thug and hood and changing how you communicate. It's like such a thing. And knowing that that's not losing who you are, or you're not faking or whatever. You're trying to get your message across. Niki, I'm gonna cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, you're perfectly fine. And that's the truth. When I think about this prompt, what it ignites in me is that change, and so how I would feel that in the prompt is, I didn't think I needed to change my ways, my lifestyle, and the way that I conducted myself inside a prison. I justified it in so many different ways. But my mom took it upon herself to help me by keeping me encouraged and by telling me about how they were changing juvenile laws and policies out here in the state of California. And the positive change that happened in me was that I created 2 different organizations while I was on the inside. I became a certified drug and alcohol counselor. I got my AA degree, and I started promoting productivity and positive programming on the inside. And I justified my change to my peers by explaining to them that we all deserve freedom and that we're all getting ready to go home. And the best thing we could do for ourselves is make ourselves equipped and ready for that transformation, because we were going to have that opportunity.
That is just absolutely inspirational, Niki. I can't tell you, every time I see somebody take that path, it paves the way for 30, 50, 100 others, thousands of others to do it. And then I followed in those people's footsteps. And I'm so grateful that you brought all that to the front. Just to let everybody know, we will repeat this writing prompt on screen at the end of the program. If you didn't have enough time to write it down, you can get to it later. All right.
All right, so let's get back to the scene. So now Don Pedro has had a word with Hero to do something similar with Beatrice. So later, Hero and her lady's maid, Margaret, seek to plant some ideas into Beatrice's head. Hero and Margaret are in the garden, and they have a servant tell Beatrice that he's noticed the 2 of them are there in the garden talking about her. So, of course, Beatrice shows up to listen. And when she does, Hero and Margaret go to work while Beatrice is hiding. So, Robbie, I'm going to ask you to play Hero and James to play Margaret. And Niki, if you can play Beatrice.
No, truly, Margaret, she is too disdainful. I know her spirits are as coy and wild as haggards of the rock.
But are you sure that Benedick loves Beatrice so entirely?
So says the prince and my betrothed lord.
And did they bid you tell her of it, madam?
They did entreat me to acquaint her of it, but I persuaded them, if they loved Benedick, to wish him wrestle with affection, and never to let Beatrice know of it.
Why did you so? Doth not the gentleman deserve as full, as fortunate a bed as ever Beatrice shall couch upon?
Oh, God of love, I know he doth deserve as much as may be yielded to a man, but nature never framed a woman's heart of prouder stuff than that of Beatrice. Disdain and scorn ride sparkling in her eyes, misprizing what they look on, and her wit values itself so highly that to her all else seems weak. She cannot love, she is so self-endeared.
Sure, I think so, and therefore certainly it were no good she knew of his love, lest she make sport at it.
Why, you speak truth. I never yet saw a man, how wise, how noble, young, how rarely featured, but she would spell him backward. If fair-faced, she would swear the gentleman should be her sister. If speaking, why, a vein blown with all winds. If silent, why, a block moved with none. So turns she every man the wrong side out, and never gives to truth and virtue that which simpleness and merit purchaseth.
Sure, such carping is not commendable. Yet tell her of it. Hear what she will say.
No, rather I will go to Benedick and counsel him to fight against his passion. And truly, I'll devise some honest slanders to stain my cousin with. One doth not know how much an ill word may empoison liking.
Oh, do not do your cousin such a wrong. She cannot be such without true judgment, having so swift and excellent a wit as she is prized to have, as to refuse so rare a gentleman as Signor Benedick.
He's the only man of Italy. Always excepted, my dear Claudio.
I pray you, be not angry with me, madam. Speaking my fancy, Signor Benedick for shape, forbearing, argument, and valour goes foremost in report through Italy.
Indeed, he hath an excellent good name.
His excellent did earn it ere he had it. When are you married, madam?
Why, tomorrow. Come, go in. I'll show thee some attires, and have thy counsel which is the best to furnish me tomorrow.
She is limed, I warrant you. We have caught her, madam.
If it prove so, then loving goes by, haps. Some Cupid kills with arrows, some with traps.
What fire is in mine ears? Can this be true? Stand I condemned for pride and scorn so much? Contempt, farewell, and maiden pride adieu. No glory lives behind the back of such. And Benedick, love on? I will requite thee, taming my wild heart to thy loving hand. If thou dost love, my kindness shall incite thee to bind our love up with holy band. For others shall say thou deserve, and I believe it better than reportingly.
Yay! That was great. All right, y'all. So that was awesome. And I loved having Robbie and James as the ladies, because you didn't act like it. You just played the part and we totally got it. It was awesome. Thank you. All right, let's unpack this. What happened?
Hero's main ploy is to highlight Beatrice's toughness or resistance, and sort of act as in such a way to make it very plain what the challenge is for Beatrice.
Right. So one thing, I love that. So one thing is Hero is like let Beatrice hear a reflection of really what Beatrice is putting out there in the world. I also heard, hearing the scene, Hero and Margaret have another ploy, which is to make it sound like Benedick is such a catch.
He is the only man from Italy.
I mean, except the one I'm engaged to, but he's really the only one.
And he has earned that excellence.
Oh yeah. Nikki, I'm wondering, so what happened for Beatrice?
Beatrice is overhearing what's happening and what they're saying, and it's starting to resonate. And for whatever reason, I feel like she's agreeing. Then she kind of gets shocked for a second and is like, oh, what? And now her whole perception and perspective of what's getting ready to happen is about to change, so much so to where she's already got a ring on her finger.
I love that. This speech is so full, it's so jam-packed, it's pretty short compared to how much Benedick talks in the earlier scene, but she just describes that there's fire in her ears, and she realizes, just like Robbie said, is it true, all that condemnation, pride, and scorn? Like, is that really me? And then she says, no, because no glory lives on the back of such. It's like she realizes what she's putting out and realizes she's not going to get anything from putting that out. Of course, she's also hearing how Benedick loves her and everything we talked about earlier about what that does to someone. So, yeah, she's like ready to put that away and open her heart up to love. And I wonder how much of that is the combination between hearing that Benedick loves her, but like really hearing that her like being full of wit, which maybe is how she perceived her personality, is actually pride and scorn, and hearing all the negative stuff that puts out.
I was thinking about what Erika said earlier about, being from New York, talking fast and changing how we communicate. And for me, this idea about seeing myself and how other people see me is such a radical, mind-blowing experience. I remember when I got to prison, I used to smile a lot when I got, like, if there was conflict, I used to be like witty and like sarcastic and like kind of like, yeah. And I thought it was smooth and I thought it was like cool. And over the years, I had people come back to me and be like, yo, I wanted to punch you in the face because you thought you were like charming or whatever, but you were really just like, and having my perception of myself so radically questioned by the experience of other people really made me question how I am as a communicator and a person, like, and what are my go-tos hiding? If I'm being witty and charming and quickly deflecting and always have a smart thing to say, or why am I so afraid to be vulnerable and say how things really feel? And so, yeah, that was a dramatic shift for me. And I can see that happening for Beatrice.
Yeah, absolutely. Robbie, we were thinking on exactly the same lines. I was thinking about her in this scene and just what that is when you find out something about yourself that you may not want to hear. Then they feed her something that restores a sense of goodness and maybe possibility.
Listening to the scene, it was great to hear there's this little middle bit of the scene where Hero says, I'm actually going to go to Benedick and slander Beatrice because it'll be helpful for me to poison him against her. And that Margaret then says, like, no, don't do that. But I'm imagining Niki's character, Beatrice, hearing that the gift to her would be to slander her.
This is another one of those really, really resonant experiences for me in prison where, like, all we have is just to talk about each other behind her. We are the happening. We are the events, the current events. And so, popularities rise and wane, and your social currency becomes your safety to a certain degree if you're isolated and don't have a group and don't have these connections. And so the power, it's not much different from, the Shakespearean lords and ladies, the dons in this equation, where it's an insular environment and speech has an outsized role. Most of the violence and drama I know took place because somebody said something about somebody, and then that needs to get corrected and figured out. So I think about this very, very resonant section where people will say, and the real interesting point here is that I'll devise some honest slanders, which is like critically the most powerful slanders are the one that are actually fragments or whole truths, but that don't paint the entire picture. I heard so and so is here for that. It may be an honest slander, but it may not be the whole picture. I heard so and so was talking to the cops. Boom, honest slander. His life could be on the line because somebody says an honest slander, but it's not the whole picture. He was trying to get a shower, like what? Yeah, it just really strikes me the power of this section here.
When you think about where Beatrice is at, and it's, what fire is in my ears? Can this be true? Right? and whatever it is that is permeating her soul as the truth, whether it's the awareness of who it is that their perception of her may be. But I think really in all actuality, it's where is she at internally, and what is she ready to receive? What is she ready to chew on? What does she want to chew on? Right? Because she has the ability to just be like, yep, that's the kind of woman I am, and I'm gonna roll with it, and oh well, and shame on him, and I don't even care. But she's at a point right now to where she wants to chew on something just different. She wants to be perceived in a different light. She wants to be taking life in a different course for herself. And as a result of that, she internalizes everything that's being said in a way that's going to propel her forward to take a different direction, which is amazing, right? I think of how powerful that is, but it's really all about the timing, where we're at in our lives, what we're ready to receive, how we're going to digest what's happening, what we believe about ourselves that ultimately is going to lead us down the next step. And it's really amazing to me how all of these different things are coming together, these different elements. And I know for sure I've been in so many different situations where I can sit here and attest to so many different of my own testimonials where all of these different things have transpired in so many different ways and just so many different things. But I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is allowing ourselves to take a look, take that inventory, be honest with ourselves. What is my truth? And is that who I still want to be? Is that how I want to be? Is that the person I want to be? Is that how I want people to perceive me? And what is it that I want for myself? And what do I believe I'm worthy of having? And do I have the courage? Am I courageous enough to make sure that I go get that? And that's what's really standing out to me right now with this.
So do you think then that puts up there, and I see these folks here, and then thinking about my own life, people I know, that when they've been like at the max of something, let's say, that when a change happens or occurs or is desired, even a small step can be radical.
Yes, and we also have an amazing ability to double down. So I look at our political situation, or for someone for whom the stakes are invisible to us, someone in charge of something, and it's not even just their personal stakes, it's the stakes of an organization or a group or a whole thing that they've built up over time. And now to backpedal on this persona means that you are letting the whole house of cards could collapse. Nikki pointed out a really, really point is that this harmful cycle, it doesn't automatically switch, even when it's primed to switch. There are a lot of things that are invested in keeping people doing the same things that they're doing. What's good about all these characters in Much Ado is that they're all really smart. So they see all the strings that they can pop to sever the connections that'll cause the change to not happen, and those are invisible. They're just really wise, and I love having that kind of wisdom as we apply that to change in a big sense and change in a personal sense.
I'm going to declare that the last word, because that was a good mic drop moment. And isn't it just cool that two little comedy scenes that when they're on stage are based in the comedy in hiding behind a bush offer us so much fertile ground for this incredible discussion. I want to thank you all for that. All right, it's time to reflect.
All right, awesome. This is exciting, everyone. So we're going to get into our reflection questions, and this is an opportunity for you guys to utilize that pen and paper that James was talking about getting earlier, right? Yes, it's powerful stuff. So what the reflection question is I want you to think of a time that you believed your heart was set on something, and it turns out you were swayed to have a change of heart. right? So words are powerful. This is what's happening in these scenes that we read today. People overheard something, and because they overheard something, their perception drastically changed, right? So as powerful as words may be, they can sway us, they can tear us down, they can build us up, they can influence others and even alter beliefs. What words have you used to do the following? To build someone up, to tear someone down, to influence someone in a positive way, and to show someone your heart. Awesome. So I encourage you guys to just take a moment, reflect on that, be honest, be truthful with yourself. Let's be accountable, let's be honest, and then let's grow from this experience. We'll repeat the writing prompts on the screen at the end of the program if you didn't get enough time to write them all down right now.
Well, guess what, folks? That's it. That is the end of our episode. That was amazing.
Oh, dynamic.
Wonderful.
Loved it.
I really enjoyed myself. Just really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, it was a good one.
All right. So those of you tuning in regularly, we're going to end our class and our broadcast like we always do. And we try to do this like we do when we're working in person. We're going to finish up with a one-word checkout. And that is one word describing how you feel right now. And I'm going to send it to Nikki to start us off.
Heartbeat.
Happy.
Charged.
Exuberant.
Ooh, and everyone watching? Love it. Thank you so much for even being involved. We love this. So right now, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, and we're going to clap on that fourth beat. This is how we end in every space that we're at, so we can create that community, unity, and be present with you all. Ready? 1, 2, 3. We do it every time, people. Yes, we do.
All right, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. See ya. Be well.